Hi, this is Sean with Voices Live On and Voices Live On for Bourbon. And we're lucky enough to have a longtime friend of Trey Herring's here. It's Liz Biro, is that
Biro.
correct? Biro. And Liz actually writes for the Indianapolis Star on food reviews for restaurants around the city, but they met a while ago in, is it Wilmington?
Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wilmington,
Yeah.
North Carolina. So what was the original meeting of you and Trey? How did that come about?
I believe it was in the ladies' room, Trey.
Liz.
You had stumbled in by accident.
That was me. That was me.
No, we were going to the same really nice craft cocktail bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people were talking about Trey's bourbon, and so somebody pointed out, "Hey, that's Trey Herring," and I thought, "That's Trey Herring." I thought he would look completely different, but no,
Thought
he
I'd
looked
be
like
slimmer.
just a guy. Looked like just a guy from Goldsboro, just somebody very
Just
relatable.
a guy from Goldsboro, perfect.
Just a guy
Absolutely.
from Gold,
That's
just
it.
very relatable. In North
That's
Carolina, we're very friendly. We talk to everybody. And so he was just hanging out at the bar, and everybody was talking about his bourbon, and I was writing about food and drink there in Wilmington, North Carolina as well. So, of course, I took an interest in what he was up to.
Had you been doing that a while?
I've been writing about food and dining for about 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah,
She
not
does
just in
incredible work if you don't
Indianapolis,
follow her.
but, yeah.
So did you originally start in that area? Is that where you got to start?
No. I started in hard news. I was a hard news reporter in North Carolina. I covered the state legislature. I covered the environment. I covered fisheries, which is a huge deal on the coast of North Carolina. I was a city editor, a managing editor. I did it all. And then I made the switch in 2000 to food because when you write about news for a long time, you tend to get jaded. You tend
Right.
to feel like, gosh, I'm not making a difference,
I totally
And
get
people
it.
want to read, they're like, oh, why do you always write bad news? Why can't you write good news? Especially when I was covering fisheries and the environment. And I just love food. I have a background. My parents were European. We always cooked at home. I didn't know how to cook a hot dog when I went to college because we never cooked hot dogs at home. If we wanted a hot dog, my dad would, go get a hog and get the casings and then stuff
Take
the
3
thing.
months and then you got a hot dog.
Real
We had
hot
to
dog.
work. We want a hamburger. He had to make the patties and stuff them with cheese and put parsley. He's a real gourmand. So
I love your father.
yeah, good guy. So that's how I ended up in a craft cocktail bar. Great appreciation for food and drink.
All right, so how often when you're in the interviewing, reviewing moment at the restaurant, do they bring out spirits, wine, beer for pairings, and how do you look at that as far as how it can make a meal better? For instance, pairing bourbon with a particular meal.
Wine and beers are, in my mind, I won't say easier, but more agreeable with food. Spirits is a bigger challenge because spirits have such a forward flavor and then they have that heat. And so you really have to know what kind of food to put with that. You really have to have a flavorful food. It has to play off whatever spirit you're serving. And then the spirit, if it's in a cocktail, that's a completely different taste. So not many chefs and restaurants are successful at spirits and food pairings,
Okay.
as you would hope would be.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of thought, doesn't it?
And when we do, I'll do bourbon dinners. And when we do that, a lot of times for certain courses, it's just easier to pair with a local brewery and have, a beer pairing with that particular course. And then, of course, really, it comes down to cocktails are important. And that's almost like Liz was saying, it's a separate recipe, separate flavors, and it takes a really skilled chef to be able to pull together a really top-notch pairing and bourbon dinner.
And Brendan, you obviously have done a lot of tastings, being certified at the top level in all 3 areas of spirits, wine, and beer.
Sure.
So how do you tell people how to properly do it?
And so I will touch on this immediately, and I think once again it comes back to the capabilities of the back of the house, right? Spirit's already been made. How do you incorporate that? And one way, and I think this helps a lot, desserts are way easier
Oh, yes.
than savory
Agreed.
courses or
Totally.
salty courses.
Totally.
And it can play around with that a lot, I think, right? So you talk about butterscotch, you talk about caramel, you talk about toffee, and bourbon in particular, or whiskeys, have those types of flavors and aromas, and I think it's probably easier to kind of incorporate it with that specific style of food or that course of food than it is to try and incorporate it into multiple courses.
Right.
And I think if you do find a quality chef, and a great team, you can get it done. I think it takes a fair amount of planning and a fair amount of prep work. And not everybody's capable of executing at that level. And in particular, if you're going to charge $100 a head, $150 a head, people want value. They want something back for what they spent on it.
Right.
Exactly.
And if anybody's ever gone to a dinner and you paid that type of money and you've left underwhelmed, when are you going to come back?
Never.
Are you coming back?
Not happening.
It's not happening.
Right.
And so I think that's why people are a little bit more cautious, and that's why I think they entertain the opportunities for breweries and wineries more regularly.
Yeah, and then with liquor too, you know, you got to be careful because the cocktails, people want value. So at these pairing dinners, you get a full-size cocktail. You get to the second course, you're drunk. You know, you get second course, you're drunk, and so then
if
you're
you're
done.
not me, you get hammered pretty early.
Yeah, so you have to have the right size, you have to have the right flavor profile. You don't want the cocktail to overtake the food, you don't want the food to overtake the cocktail. It's
Sure.
a real balancing act.
And
But when they get it right, oh boy, is it good.
Absolutely, and that's
Oh,
what I'll
boy, is
say.
it
Oh,
good.
that looks
So
absolutely fabulous.
we
Thank you,
just
brother.
had a little bit of cuisine from St.
so
Joseph's
divine.
Wow,
Brewery.
that smells great.
Showed up right on time here.
Chef, thank you so
We're gonna,
much.
actually, Chef, would you like to come over here and kind of step in and
Yeah, step
describe
in.
what has been created here?
Wow.
And you
That's
can come over to my
amazing.
spot if you like to come on around. So essentially they have a full menu here, and
St. Joseph
the
rocks.
It
presentation's
does.
phenomenal.
It's a phenomenal place.
For other
Space,
interview
outdoor
shootings
area.
we've done here, they've been able to give us all of their beautiful cuisine. Why don't you just have a seat here just for a split second and describe what you've set up here.
Thank you, Chef.
Oh,
It
sure.
looks fabulous, wow.
Okay, so this is a flat iron steak with truffle mashed potatoes, string beans, and then we have a red wine and beer reduction.
Awesome.
Oh wow, red wine and beer.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
And that is a bourbon smoked salmon.
Nice.
Get the aroma
It
right,
looks
yeah.
it looks amazing too.
It has some duck confit and Yukon Gold potato hash with a bourbon glaze.
You had me at duck confit.
You like the double up. You like the beer with the wine, the confit with the salmon.
And at the very end, we have an Iberico pork loin
Oh, beautiful.
with a polenta, Indiana corn broth, string beans, and a mango chutney on top.
Nice. That's beautiful.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Chef, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Everything
oh.
looks
That's
great.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
space.
If you guys,
Can't
if you guys
try.
don't come and visit these people sooner rather than later,
Oh.
we're gonna find you and force you to come down here.
And we're gonna take a little break and kind of dive into this, and then also kind of talk about it a little bit. But
Did you guys get pictures?
this is the beginning of
these?
the
about to happen.
cuisine
Yeah.
and
Pictures will
bourbon
happen.
segment.